In the name of God Almighty, first of all, I'd like to greet you, starting with our Prophet Muhammad, with the Ahl Bayt, with the disciples, the Ashab, all of the ancestors that have come up today, the front, the behind, the below, the above, the living and the dead. We greet them all, and thus I will be opening the 5th session of our symposium. I'm a little bit excited, I'm a little bit emotional, and I will give you a couple of words about this. Our dear speaker said you can be close when far away, and you can be far away when you are near, and reminded me this Persian verses. And I have said, yes, come, let me share the suffering of my heart to you. But once you have arrived, the suffering has left me. So what do I have to tell you? So in that experience of rejoicing, of course there is the word, but in this official symposium, we were forced to talk, and the predecessors and me and the others are forced to talk, because we are nothing but the word itself as human beings. So today's topic made me feel emotional, that forces me to say a couple of words. In Kitab al-Jamal of Ibn Arabi, a thin book, and he says this in his book. I think it actually overlaps with all the topics of our symposium and more correlated with our topic today. No verse in the book of God Almighty and no word in existence, so every one of us, that is, the stones, the clouds, the trees, and us, we are all a word. And they have an affinity for us, an appreciation, and there is a Kemal, a Jamal, and the Jalal dimension to that. And this Jamal, Kemal, and Jalal trilogy always is a reflection of appreciation to us, and we have an appreciation to them. So using our conscientiousness, we perceive, we understand, we learn, and we imagine based on that mutual appreciation. And our training, our education, and our attitudes are also directly related with this. Tasawwuf is not about something only made up of words. It is a perception of existence. It is an experience of being in a conjunction of time and place, and this being reflected and expressed. So this experience, first of all, includes the awareness, the pleasure, the understanding of the presence in front of the God Almighty. This education thing is an important issue. I'd like to also quote Ibn Arabi again. Among the closest beings to God, he names the earth and the stones, and then he says are the plants, level by level, and then animals, and then the human beings. When we were meant to be the closest, knowing all the Esma of God, and especially as the human being is the one which reflects more of the Esma of God, even though we were meant to be the closest, we are unfortunately those who stay away at the furthest. So we are faced with the challenge of falling way behind from that closeness. And also some of the Western thinkers have explanations for that, which I will not get into the details. But when we talk of tasawwuf, it's meant to bring us closer to taqwa. Taqwa is not the fear of God. It is the fear of being away from that experience of closeness to God. Our experience today is very different today, and there is a traditional educational system that we have today, and especially in the tekke, dergah and bargah, the leaders that we have, including Kenan Rifai Hazretleri as the last link, one of the gold links of that chain. Among those leaders, there is a difference somewhere. I want to share something like an anecdote. In the West, somebody goes to a priest and says, "Oh dear priest, I've lost everything I have. I'm in a terrible position." And the priest listens to him, and then he says, "Listen to that book. Read that book," the priest says. "I've read the book and I've thrown it away. It says nothing to me," he said. "Okay then, go to that one person. He will be a remedy to your suffering." And then he says, "No, I have gone to that person. I have visited him, but he was nothing. He is of no good for me." "Oh, okay, then I think your problem is much bigger than what I've thought," the priest said. And he said, "That certain person has written 2 volumes of a work, and read his books. That is your remedy," he says. And he says, "I am the person who wrote those 2 volumes, dear priest," he says. And in another anecdote, one Murshid goes to the river and he says, "You're gonna say, 'Ya Sheikh,' and you will walk through the river," he says. "You don't even need to get your pants folded up." And he says that when he reaches to the river, he says, "Keep your heart correct and I will make you cross the river." So what we say, tasawwuf or dergah or bargah, is that understanding of this mutual coexistence, and bringing that mutual coexistence come together in front of the existence of God, which is a work of adab. Adab is very important, since our Prophet Muhammad says it is very important, and that I believe should be tasawwuf as well. And here the first speech here is about education, about knowledge, about irfan, to keep our consciousness awake and to increase our field of perception. I will now give the first word to Muhammad Rustam, but he is not with us, unfortunately. So Mr. Ümit Safi will be giving his presentation. First of all, I'd like to welcome him, who will give a speech about motionless motion, which is a very striking topic in itself. And now the podium is yours, sir.